From NBC News, it's the SNL 50 Rewind. The early years of Saturday Night Live. With the not ready for primetime players. Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Chevy Chase, Jane Curtin, Garrett Morris, Bill Murray, Lorraine Newman, Gilda Radner, featuring Billy Crystal, Lorne Michaels, first night musical guest Janice Ian, and your host, Joe Fryer.
Ever since Saturday Night Live debuted on NBC 50 years ago, it has put its stamp on American culture.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Perhaps there's something about the time slot, literally straddling the line between today and tomorrow, that keeps the show relevant. For decades, SNL has given us new stars, new music, and new ways of talking.
I gotta have more cowbell.
Satirizing the day's presidents and politicians.
A lot of people forget I'm president, including me.
In America, we will never have a king.
Never say never.
We've dug through the NBC News archives to let the original cast help us tell their story of Saturday Night Live. When Saturday Night Live came on the screen in 1975, most Americans watched the three broadcast networks. The top show was All in the Family. Late-night television was dominated by NBC's The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
It was dangerous in the sense that in 1975, what we did was described by television critics as shocking. And I think that that had to do with what else was on television at the time.
America was also in a moment of tumult and transition.
If you think it was tough to make ends meet in 1974, wait till you hear about 1975.
America seemed eager for a laugh.
Most of the established institutions had been discredited. The president was to be impeached and resigned. The military was discovered to be not credible in terms of what they've been telling us about Vietnam. And most of the things that people normally trust to set the course were in flux. And that change led to people, it led to a lot of conspiracy theories, but also led to people not knowing where or how to trust. So it was more important to try and be an honest voice.
So how did the show begin? NBC President Herbert Schlosser wanted a replacement for Saturday reruns of The Tonight Show. In a memo dated February 11, 1975, he wrote about a new program concept called Saturday Night that would play from 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., and that, if possible, the show should be live, perhaps from Studio 8H. He thought the program can become a major show in television that people will talk about. Schlosser hired laugh-in veteran Lorne Michaels to create the show.
Everybody used the word bold and experimental and, new and, no one knew what it was going to be because I'd never done live and they hadn't done live here since the early 60s. I started on April 1st of 75, which is kind of an auspicious day to start a comedy show. And for 3 months, I just gathered together the people that I thought would work. So there was nobody that I didn't hire personally. So lots of writers, the designers, the musicians, the cast.
The first cast member Lorne hired was Gilda Radner.
Hi, I'm Patty Hearst. My friends call me Tanya.
Here she is before her SNL debut, showing her comedic chops in the off-Broadway National Lampoon show, playing kidnapped heiress Patty Hearst.
Anyway, I've given up a life of comfort and wealth. Surely you can send something. A dime, a dollar, a pair of socks, some .50 caliber tracer bullets, or whatever you can to
The Simonese Liberation Army. That's the SLA NLA, 418 Tishman Building, Los Angeles, California.
That's future SNL cast member Bill Murray, who would join in season 2.
Ready?
Also in this footage, John Belushi.
Okay, rehearsal warm-up. Let's do 20 face laps.
Despite Belushi's talent, Lorne had to be convinced to hire him for SNL.
Chevy Chase and Michael O'Donoghue were very strong supporters of John, and he and I had a meeting in which he explained to me that he didn't do television. I think that it was one of those just terrible first meetings. There was never any point at which I doubted his talent or his commitment.
Lorraine Newman was recruited after her work on a Lily Tomlin comedy special.
Lorne Michaels came to me and said, I'm doing a show that's going to be a cross between Monty Python and 60 Minutes. And it's a summer replacement show for The Tonight Show. Are you interested?
Jane Curtin went to an open audition.
There was a call out. I guess every agent in New York had it. And for a TV show that NBC is going to be doing, but they don't know what it is. The call was to go and improvise.
Garrett Morris was first hired as an SNL writer, but when cast members saw him in this movie, Cooley High,
All right, now, class starts right now. As of this point, everybody in class, shut up.
They urged Lorne to put him in front of the camera.
I auditioned for Gilda Radner. In no way was I equal to her at improvisation. Gilda, being who she was, just let me alone.
Another writer turned cast member was Chevy Chase. He said he couldn't convince Lorne to cast him until production had begun.
I wanted to perform, but Lorne didn't want me to. He wanted me as a writer. He couldn't guarantee me performing because he really wanted to put together something called the Not Ready for Primetime Players. Once we got together in August, we began to write and videotape and film commercial parodies. And I was in a number of them. When Lorne saw something.
The youngest cast member hired, Dan Aykroyd, had crossed paths with Lorne when he was just a teen in the Canadian comedy scene. And with that, the original cast was set. They would become known as the Not Ready for Primetime Players.
The hardest part with the show is to get the balance in cast so that there's very little displacement, so that you don't think of two people for the same part continually. And we had that in the original cast.
Lorne and the cast made their late-night debut on NBC's Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder, 2 weeks before SNL's first episode. The audience that night, tuning in for funny man Jerry Lewis, got to see a generational shift in comedy playing out in real time.
We just happen to have the producer of the program, Mr. Lorne Michaels, with us, the producer of Saturday Night, and members of his company, and let's spend a couple of minutes talking about your show. Lorne, I'd like to meet your gang.
Well, but just before we do that, I just want to say that I thought Jerry was wonderful as well. This is Chevy Chase.
Nice to meet you, Tom.
Were you named after the town in Maryland, or is that your real name?
That's my real name. No, it is my real name. In fact, I was named that 2 days after I was born, but we don't want to stay on that, do we?
No, we certainly don't. It's going absolutely nowhere.
This is the beauty of live. You can move right on.
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd.
Hello, Dan.
Hi.
Hi, Dan.
Jane Curtin.
Jane.
It's Garrett Morris.
What's happening?
Gilda Radner.
Gilda.
John Belushi. And
Lorraine Newman.
Lorraine Newman.
That's all right.
Will all of you be seen every week doing improv or repertoire, or how does it work?
Well, we've got 8, and we're hoping for 2 to really work. So not all of these people will become stars. I mean,
that's what I said, that only 2 of you will be chosen to appear on the
2 or 3
program, so the rest of you are just spinning your wheels. Is that what I did?
Essentially, yes. No, almost everyone. Well, I don't want to. It could be embarrassing.
I think I can say without fear of contradiction that I will be working every week as one of these stars on the show. Now, Danny here, who's a funny fellow in his own right, will be on once in a while when we work his contract out. The rest of the company here are all very good improvisational actors, and they'll probably be on too. We've done a tremendous amount of work already.
What should we look for on your program?
Anxiety.
Fear.
Yeah.
On October 11th, 1975, the show debuted with this sketch.
Let us begin. Repeat after me. I would like to feed your fingertips to the Wolverines.
To the Wolverines.
Next.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
The first SNL host was the counterculture comedian George Carlin, who would later say in interviews he was too insecure about his acting ability to appear in sketches that night.
In football, you get a penalty. In baseball, you make an error. Whoops.
The first night had not one, but two musical acts, funk artist Billy Preston and folk singer Janice Ian. She performed her Grammy-winning hit at 17.
People were really, really nervous. All of the not ready for primetime people were well named at that moment. I thought they did an amazing job. The humor was great, and it was a lot of off the cuff, which was great. I know that the show's success took everyone by surprise.
Janice is one of the few people to witness one of the forgotten acts of SNL, Jim Henson's Land of Gorch Muppets.
I happened upon these two puppets talking to each other behind a papier-mâché mountain, and I remember my first thought was, what have they gotten me into now?
Of all the music and comedy that first night, one sketch still endures.
And now, Weekend Update with Chevy Chase.
Not every act made it that night. A young comedian named Billy Crystal was waiting in the wings before learning he was cut.
That was a hard night because of the expectation and the phone calls to the relatives. I'm not going to be on. What did you do? What'd you do? Get fired? What'd you do? Open a mouth? You know, that's hard when you're just sitting there, still with your makeup on, getting home and watching, Chevy take the fall on his first show, live from New York, and I'm sitting there, dead in Long Island. That's what it felt like to me,
Many involved in that first show assumed it would just be another gig.
When I took Saturday night, it was just my next job. I think everyone would say that. It was late night TV, it wasn't going to be in prime time or anything.
Instead, the show took off and became a cultural phenomenon.
What I did was assemble a group of people, and there was no vision, there was no sort of moment at which, God spoke to me or something emerged and I saw, a vision in the darkness. There was basically a lot of people contributing ideas, and it just kept, like a snowball coming down a hill, it just kept adding layers and levels and getting bigger.
Coming up,
Yellow.
Hollywood comes calling for Chevy Chase, while the women of Saturday Night Live redefine comedy.
Happy birthday to the Today Show. Happy birthday to you. 30 years of beautiful mornings on NBC.
That's John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd from 1982. Only a few shows, including today, have had the longevity of Saturday Night Live, and you can't discuss the show's success without talking about its groundbreaking cast from the first 5 years.
We are two wild and crazy guys.
The show stands on their shoulders. Them and the designers, the musicians, every aspect of the taste of the show came from seriously creative people.
The show's first breakout star, Chevy Chase.
Good evening, I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not.
We were a late-night live show that was going to get about a 1 rating. That was after all the sponsors go to bed and everything else. We didn't feel that even if you were a star on that show, what did that mean? It was a small audience. So I guess the first inkling I had was when I heard that I was going to be on the cover of New York Magazine. But I still didn't really know. I mean, now I was on a magazine, and that was pretty good. And I know that when the audience came in at night, on Saturday nights, they knew me because they applauded like crazy when my name was mentioned.
His take on a stumbling President Gerald Ford had audiences rolling on the floor.
And now for my second announcement.
Among his fans,
Betty and I used to watch the show. We used to grimace a little bit and sort of wince, but it was good humor. We loved it. The public liked it, so not much you can do about it, even as president.
Chase left after winning an Emmy for his one and only season. He went on to become a movie star with films like Foul Play and Caddyshack.
I didn't have any regrets. Maybe Frank Langella. I figured it was all over, and when I left, it would go right down the drain.
He returned to host in 1978.
Comedian whose career fizzled after leaving NBC Saturday Night. Well, I'm sorry, it took too long on that. The correct answer is, who was Chevy Chase?
His replacement, Bill Murray.
Ah, Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
It's a good job. It's one of the best jobs you can get. And movies are, you have to have something good to do. The thing about our shows, there's always at least one thing on the show every week that's worth doing.
And this is your graduation gift from me.
Really?
SNL also made stars out of the comic team of Belushi and Aykroyd.
Are you pals when you're not working? Yes, we are. What do you do when you're
not? Kindred spirits.
Kindred spirits.
Their collaboration led to the first act to transcend the show itself, the Blues Brothers.
Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
The Blues Brothers movie was released in 1980. It was the first time an SNL skit hit the big screen.
And obviously, John and I really love the act, we love the music, and we love all the guys in the band.
The duo were electric on stage, featured as SNL musical guests twice on the show.
I say, put your hands together to the blues band of Johnny Antic and Elwood Blues. Yeah, the blues brothers, yeah.
That's fellow cast member Garrett Morris. Morris, a multi-hyphenate talent, had been a singer himself before SNL. He also spent time honing his skills in black improv workshops, where the focus was more on hot topics than comedy.
Most of the time, we weren't trying to be funny. We're trying to just deal with subjects like teen pregnancy, teenage crime, how badly the police department is dealing with, black people. So my improvisational skills went from hate whitey to kill whitey.
I'm gonna get me a shotgun and kill all the whiteys I see.
At that time, you could do a lot of courageous comedy. Saturday Night Live's assignment was to roast everybody.
Garrett says Chevy Chase wrote his most famous sketch.
Our top story tonight, President Ford is finally over that stubborn week-long cold.
Stubborn week-long cold. Boom, ba, ba, boom, ba.
And then there were the trailblazing women of SNL, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, and Gilda Radner.
Why don't we start with the floor? Look at it, Sue. Look at it. What do you see?
That's buildup.
Curtin says as they fought to break out of stereotypical roles, a close bond developed between the three.
The first couple of years, there was a tremendous amount of competition. The women were competing for just for time because we were housewives. That was basically it. That's what people would write for us. And Gilda, Lorraine, and I shared a dressing room for the first 3 years, a very small dressing room. And because of the fact that we were forced together for so long, we became very close. So the competition between the three of us became less and less.
Dan, there's an old saying, behind every successful man, there's a woman, a loving, giving, caring woman. But you wouldn't know about that, Dan, because there's no old saying about what's behind a miserable failure.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
The show was primarily written by men, and in the very beginning, there were only 2 women writers. We were welcome to write our own material, but chances of getting it on were very slim.
We were really just like the redheaded stepchild of NBC. When I came back for the 40th and I saw how the wardrobe department had branched out and what they had, our wardrobe was one room with a bed sheet that separated the women from the men.
Wow.
And with a sign just for Danny that said, must wear underwear.
Cohen. Is that spelled with an H?
Conehead. The name is Conehead.
Cohen.
We come from France.
Yeah.
Oh, France. Well, that explains everything.
Perhaps the most beloved star of the original SNL cast was Gilda Radner and her characters, Roseanne, Rosanna Dana.
It just goes to show you, it's always something.
Emily Latella.
That was violence on television, not violins. Violence.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yes.
Never mind.
And
Hello, I'm Baba Wawa. And welcome to Baba Wawa at Watch.
It's funny, when I came to Saturday night, I told Lorne Michaels, the producer, that I didn't do characters, that anything I did would be a Jewish girl from Detroit. It would be an old lady, but it'd be a Jewish girl, whatever it was. And I got amazed that suddenly I began to have these characters that came out of either a writer's idea that I wanted to fulfill. You know, he'd have a funny idea. Or someday I'd be talking and it would be a different kind of voice. So then there'd be a wig for it or a costume for it, and then they became little complete characters.
Gilda was brilliant at improvisation, as seen in this sketch where guest host Candice Bergen flubbed their characters' names.
You're not too bright, are you, Fern? I mean, whatever your name was. Lisa! As a matter of fact, you're extremely stupid.
Well, you're right, Fern, you know, and I'm proud of it. You know, we all can't be brainy like Fern here.
Gilda said she thrived off that energy.
There's always a moment before I go on Saturday night, I go, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to fall apart. I'm just going to fall over and I won't be able to do it. And intense fear, and then right before I have to go on, there's a moment when I can't wait to go on. There's so much room for variety. It's not like doing one continuing role. I have the opportunity as a performer to test anything I want to, or come up with ideas, and get to fulfill anything I want to pretend.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't many jobs like that available to performers.
The world lost Gilda to cancer in 1989 and lost John Belushi to an overdose in 1982. But their legacy and that of the original cast lives on thanks to the continued success of the show they not only helped launch, but shape. Coming up, behind the scenes of the place SNL is called home for 50 years.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Across 50 years.
Drop the bass. That's the whole bass into the Super Bassomatic 76.
The cast has changed. The home has not. Studio 8H is the longtime launching pad.
Party on, Wayne.
Well, party on, Kurt.
For SNL's stars.
This is home base, the heart of Studio 8H. As you know, the host will burst through this door, past the band, down the stairs, which Tina Fey says she's almost fallen down a few times, and come to the center right here. What you may not realize is that moments before the cold open, the first sketch of the show, it often happens in this area right here, when the actors utter those 7 iconic words.
Live from New York! Live from New York! Live from New York! It's Saturday night!
Then the opening credits start, and the crew has about 2 minutes to break down that entire set, just in time for the host to triumphantly emerge and deliver the opening monologue.
Stick around, we'll be right back!
To the left of home base is the music stage, which has hosted a sweeping spectrum of performances. Music is in the studio's DNA. Starting in the 1930s, 8H was home to the NBC Symphony Orchestra, conducted by the legendary Arturo Toscanini. At the time, it was the largest radio studio in the world, with more than 1,000 people filling the space. Then in the 50s came television.
We got a chance now. We can have something.
James Dean was here before going east of Eden.
From New York City, it's time to play.
And Betty White played the match game.
Betty, what is your answer?
Car.
Car, there's the match.
Stars and stars.
Reporting from the NBC News Space Center,
NBC News covered space launches,
liftoff on Apollo 11,
and election nights from 8H.
This election this year is creating banner headlines.
Not to mention a few early mornings for today.
We're actually in 8H this morning.
More than anything, though, the studio is synonymous with Saturday nights. SNL's audience is nearly 400, most watching from above in seats from Yankee Stadium. From there, they get a bird's eye view of the precision needed to keep the show moving. There's no margin for error.
When a sketch is done, actors will often have to run off stage for a quick change, which is why they have this cushioning here, along with a sign that says, "Watch your head." Look closely and you'll see someone in marker wrote the word Farley, a reference to Chris Farley, who, legend has it, was known to hit his head here.
Here's you, here's Matt, there's you, there.
One chapter in the history of a place.
Well, isn't that special?
That's a culture cathedral. That's our show. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.